Hello, changelings, and welcome to the Night Garden. I'm VampireAntihero, and this is Conquer Thy Fear Studio. Hello, changelings, and welcome back to the Night Garden. I am Artemis, and I'm here to talk to you about art today. We are doing another art vlog today, so I'm going to switch right over to speed paint and start talking a little bit about this piece. So here we are for part 2 of the Under Strange Suns render. This is a contest run by Adam Hawk. They do it every year. This is their 7th year doing it. And I actually am going for the environment section of the contest. So this is a little bit higher speed than I typically put my speed paints. It's at 15 times speed instead of 10 times speed, because I wanted to get the bulk of the render into this video. I did try to finish the painting before I was able to put this together, but unfortunately I ran out of time. So we will have one more video in the series of speed paints. The next one is just going to be a silent speed paint with music behind it. I'm not going to talk over it at all. And we will just show the end of the render in that one. But for now, let's talk about this one. I mentioned in the last video, by the way, this is part 2. If you did not see the last video, I will have it linked in a card or a little info bubble up at the top of the video. So I mentioned in the last part that this is a kind of planet that never sleeps. They sleep, but they never have a nighttime. They never have like sunset. So I wanted to make sure that I had an idea on when they would get respite, and I came up with eclipses. So the beings that live here, these little aquatic lemur kind of cat-like octopus beings, they are sentient. They're able to communicate and stuff. They just are these creatures that live in the water, and they worship the sun. But they worship specifically the eclipses, because that's the only time that they get respite. So going on that, let me actually read the brief of the contest to kind of show what my jumping off point was. So the brief is, a wary hero roams a bizarre world. Hot stars hang heavy over a scorched landscape where darkness never arrives. In another universe, we see a topsy-turvy kingdom, psychedelic creatures speaking archly of politics and scandal, sipping mimosas by sunlit rainbow streams. The suns be on. So I went with the first half of that and kind of went away from the other universe idea. I probably could add those elements, but that's where I started off from. I'll definitely be adding some stars into the sky and some other elements that will speak to that brief a little bit better. But for now, I'm just still working on the standard rendering process. I'm really working into these trees, trying to add some rim lighting, some glows, all of that fun stuff. And this is where we kind of start. I'm several hours into this painting. I unfortunately have not been timing it, so I don't know the exact amount of time. I know I've worked on it for at least a couple of hours every day for several days. I did have a 10-day break in there, so there was a week and a half where I did not work on it because I was on vacation. But there were a couple of things with that background that were bothering me, and I couldn't quite tell what. So I changed the sky a little bit more to add more of like a red cast to it instead of that salmony orange color that I originally had. And then I left it alone again, but it was still bothering me. I actually got some feedback on this piece while I was working on it, because I was working on it in a Discord call with a bunch of friends who are also artists, and kind of asked their opinion on what I could do to make things pop a little bit better. So you will see some things change and me go back and rework certain areas that I had already finished. But a lot of what this one focuses on is that midground, trying to really solidify the focus of the piece here, which is those suns and that character in the center. So slowly working into that, slowly starting to add some harder edges to some of the forms that I already have kind of going on, and changing some colors a little bit to make them pop a little bit more or recede a little bit more based on what I want them to do. You'll see me use the lasso tool a lot. In this portion, I'm adding some coolness to that water because I wanted to kind of pull it back a little bit and make it more reflective of the colors and things that are going on than actually locally that color. So I'll go back into the water and play with it more later, and you'll see I wound up deleting one of my little characters from that center area. It felt like it was a little bit too busy. So the characters are still just silhouettes for right now. I really haven't worked on them. They'll come after the environment is kind of solidified. But these trees, the way that I typically render trees is by like really carefully drawing these like interlocking shapes and stuff like that. I didn't want to go like in that workflow anymore, because a lot of what's going on with my art process is that it takes really long to get simple things done. So I'm really trying to simplify how I get those render effects, and I'm pretty pleased with how I did the trees in this one. I got a similar effect and it only took about a third of the time. And now with this shape here, one of the pieces of feedback that I'd gotten is that the shapes of the moon structures or the eclipse structures over top in the trees kind of blended in a little bit too much. So I tried to kind of pop them out a little bit more. First I did that by changing the color. Later on you'll see me kind of lighten it a little bit. But this is one thing that I did in order to also make those ropes really pop, because I wanted to really stick with this color scheme that I have going. I feel like it's a really intense color scheme. This piece gives me a lot of anxiety when I look at it, which is something that I'm really going for. And also, not only anxiety, but like curiousness in some ways. So I'm hoping that you guys see the same thing. But I am going to let the music kind of fade up and take us to the end of the video. I hope that you enjoy watching the rest of this render and the speed paint, and I will see you at the end of the video. So there we have it. Like I said, I did not finish this the way that I wanted to before the time that I wanted to. So we will be back to this next week with the final version of the render. And I hope that you enjoyed watching today. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you want to know more about the world I'm kind of building with it, then let me know. And I will post the finished one in the community tab. I'd like to take a moment to thank my coffee supporters, Life is Great, Lovely Rosie T, and Jen Frank. Without you guys, I could not keep doing what I'm doing. If you are interested in supporting or would like to see more of my work, you can come to my website at conquerthyfear.com, or you can check out my Ko-fi page. As always, I want you guys to remember that there is only so much time in a day, and that it is very important to take care of yourselves. Make sure that you drink your water and do what you can. I love you all, and I will see you next week. Bye, everybody.